Stock car racing legends won't only be found at the Speedway when Volusia County's Ocean Center in Daytona Beach pays tribute with a Stock Car Hall of Fame exhibit. Hi, and welcome to Volusia Magazine. I'm Amber Patterson, and Happy New Year. On today's show, we'll bring you a sneak peek at the Ocean Center's stock car exhibit plans, and we'll introduce you to the new park that opened recently in Orange City, along with what's up at the Daytona Beach International Airport. And you know, Florida-friendly landscaping is just as important during the winter months as it is in the summer. So today's show will feature some information on what we can be doing no matter what the climate. And in the studio, we'll have a chance to join Community Information Director Dave Byron for a chat with Votran General Manager Steve Sherrer. Those segments, news, and more coming right up on Volusia Magazine. Stay tuned. It's a gallery of who's who in the world of stock car racing legends. The Ocean Center in Daytona Beach is paying tribute to the area's love affair with speed by installing a Stock Car Hall of Fame exhibit and hosting an annual dinner honoring the recipients. The drivers to others connected with the sport, the walls of the east end of the Ocean Center contain a gallery of auto racing legends. The public can tour the exhibit during normal business hours. The exhibit includes photos and plaques of 58 inductees who are honored each year at the Stock Car Hall of Fame dinner. The dinner event was developed by the Rotary Club of Daytona Beach to honor legendary drivers and personalities in stock car racing. This is the 26th year for the event and the second year at the county-run convention facility, which also will host it again in 2016. Don Poor, director of the Ocean Center, said the new exhibit complements the area's rich racing history.
Well, it's fascinating. Even if you have a little bit of interest in racing, it's really a terrific journey back in history to see all these names and all the awards and the races they won and all that stuff. It's just an incredible trip through history that we all ought to enjoy. And you remember how speed progresses. When the Grand National Series was here, 1948 to 1958, the top pole position cranked about 98 miles an hour. By the time they were through in 58 for that particular series, before they moved over to the Speedway, it got up to 140 miles an hour.
The Hall of Fame dinner will feature NASCAR-themed cuisines from 23 racetracks around the country. Tickets are $100 and can be purchased by calling 386-255-1222. Proceeds benefit Habitat for Humanity. For information, you can go online to stockcarhalloffame.org. The public may view the free Stock Car Hall of Fame exhibit from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. For information about the Ocean Center and upcoming events, you can go to oceancenter.com. Residents and visitors in Orange City now have a new park, which will also serve as the center for special events in the community. Mill Lake Park officially opened the first week of January. Representatives from Orange City and Volusia County at-large member Joyce Cusack were among those who attended a ribbon-cutting event January 7th. Located at 207 East Blue Springs Avenue, construction of the park was a partnership between the city, Volusia County, and the Florida Department of Transportation. The city received a 50% match funding of $400,000 for Phase 1 of the project through a Volusia County ECHO grant. Tim Bailey, director of the county's Parks, Recreation, and Culture Division, said Mill Lake Park includes amenities for the community and visitors to enjoy all year round.
The amenities include trail, pavilions, a restroom, splash pad. There's also a green space there for art festivals or theatrical performances, maybe even a farmer's market. It has lighting there to allow access at night, especially this time of year when it gets dark earlier. It's a good opportunity to use the facility. Plus, in its location, it's a great tie-in to some of the other park sites that Orange City has.
Plans are underway for a Phase 2 of the park, which has already been approved for a $386,250 ECHO grant. Construction on Phase 2 will begin this year and will include more picnic pavilions, park benches, and a floating fountain, an overlook of the area of the lake, and a multi-use trail. Passenger traffic at Daytona Beach International Airport continues to climb. During December, 4% more people flew in or out of the airport when compared with December of 2013. During December, 47,461 passengers traveled through the county-operated airport when compared with 45,535 last December. For the 12 months ending December 31st, the airport recorded 629,843 passengers, which is a 4% increase over 2013, and the highest level of annual passenger traffic since 2007.
Well, the economy has gotten better, okay, and we are seeing some more seats now come into our market. And what we've seen last year is that if the airlines come in with more seats, generally they're sold at Daytona Beach. So we think it's very positive. We have more seats this January than we did last January. So all of that is moving in the right direction. So we're optimistic about 2015.
Passenger loads for both airlines increased from 90% last December to 91% this year. During 2015, the airport plans to continue its marketing efforts to attract expanded air service options for the community. And for more information, you can go online to flydaytonafirst.com.
Many of the items you throw out are not biodegradable and take centuries to break down. Reduce, reuse, recycle are separate but interconnected ideas that minimizes waste and saves money. The process is simple. The best way to reduce waste is to avoid creating it. According to the EPA, on average, Americans each produce over 4 pounds of trash per day. To help reduce trash, switch from plastic to reusable bags. Next, reuse items destined to be discarded. Get creative in reusing trash to reduce waste and save money. Finally, recycling takes items from materials that are discarded and turns them into new products. For example, plastic bottles can be recycled into carpet and benches. Many communities make recycling easy by offering programs such as curbside pickup. Newspaper, plastic bottles, glass, and pop cans are all recyclable items. Reduce, reuse, recycle decreases the amount of waste people create. Help keep our earth clean. Make the choice to reduce, reuse, and recycle today.
For more information on Volusia County's recycling program, you can visit volusia.org and select Recycling from the drop-down menu. You know, it's still early in 2015, so we figure it's a good time to check in and see how those New Year's resolutions are holding up. Volusia Here and Now reporter Kendra Lee has some great tips on boosting your chances of making those resolutions stick all year long.
If you made a resolution this year, it's likely that it had to do with health and wellness. The top New Year's resolutions year after year are to lose weight, eat healthier, stress less, and quit smoking. Unfortunately, these 4 are also the top on the list for most broken resolutions. Research shows that only 8% of people achieve their New Year's goals. Celine Cohn, the wellness coordinator with Volusia County government, has some tips to help make you stick to your New Year's resolution.
Well, most people are going to get started by making their resolutions, and I would suggest that they start by doing 2 goals, and with these 2 goals, do write them down, and if you could post them either on your refrigerator or on your mirror, and you will see them every day to make that commitment then getting closer to it.
The number 1 rule is to keep goals simple and achievable. By creating a large bucket list or attempting extreme wellness makeovers, experts say that you're setting yourself up to fail.
The biggest thing is trying to stay healthy all the time, and in order to do that, you've got to do a combination of fitness, nutrition, mental health, and trying to stay with some family too. It all helps together, the 4, and that will help you to maintain your health resolutions all the way then.
The next step is to really focus on what's achievable for you in the short term. Celine Cohn offers several options to kick off your wellness goals in a manageable way.
So if you could do like walking for 150 minutes a week, which is 5 days a week, for 30 minutes each of the 5 days. And that will help you to increase your cardiovascular health tremendously just by walking. Not just once a week, you must do it on a regular basis to see the results. If you have a swimming pool, use the swimming pool. This is still great exercise, and you burn a lot of calories when you're in the pool.
Excuses are an easy way to fall off the bandwagon. Common excuses include I don't have enough time, I'm too tired, or I can't exercise because I've got a family. If you can manage to schedule 30 minutes of exercise into 16 waking hours a day, you've beat excuse number 1. If you exercise, you'll actually release endorphins, giving you the energy you've been craving. And there are many forms of exercise that you can involve the family in, including trips to local parks and beaches.
In Volusia County, we have so many parks, they're free, and use the parks for walking or bicycle riding. We got a lot of them that are now got the bicycle trails. So, and it's all paved, so that makes it really great for the whole family to get together on that. And again, taking the whole family onto the beach, just, you know, even if it's just walking. I mean, if everybody just took their socks and shoes off and went walking on the beach, you know, like I said, 30 minutes down, 30 minutes back, I mean, that's great exercise right there.
Exercise alone won't help you reach your wellness goals. Eating healthy is also a big step in reaching a healthier you. Start making small changes like switching soda for water, opting for fresh foods at the grocery store or farmers markets instead of frozen, or giving up fast food for the next 30 days.
Fruits and vegetables are very important. I suggest you try and get at least 2 fruits a day and 3 vegetables a day.
The final step in achieving a healthier you and reaching those New Year's goals is finding a happier you.
If you're doing mental health, which a lot of people go through, a lot of stress, trying to do their New Year's resolutions, my suggestion is start off with just taking a deep breath in, fill up those lungs with oxygen, and then slowly exhaling it.
If you've fallen off the wagon, forgive yourself and get back on. If you're still reaching for your goals, keep going. You can be in the 8% of New Year's resolutions achievers. For Volusia Here and Now, I'm Kendra Lee.
Florida weather at times can be unpredictable, and how your garden grows depends a lot on the weather. In a day, Florida climate can change dramatically. And in this segment, horticulturalist Joe Sewards will tell us how we can care for our landscape and garden under Florida's ever-changing daily climate.
Hi, I'm Joe Sewards, and welcome to Horticulture Today. Today I want to talk about cold protection for your landscape plants. As I stand here today, it's warm, it's cloudy, overcast, it's raining a little bit. It's been a pretty warm winter so far, but remember, it's only the beginning of winter. We still have about 2.5 more months to go, so cold protection is something that we do want to think about and be ready for when it happens. I'd like to talk about 5 tips for protecting your landscape plants. Tip 1, don't panic. If you have selected appropriate landscape plants for this part of Florida, few, if any, of your plants are going to need to be covered at all. Even if they are subjected to cold temperatures and experience a little bit of damage, they will recover. Tip 2, you want to make sure your plants are adequately watered. That doesn't mean run right out and water your plants. Go out and check them. If they're moist, leave them alone. If they're a little on the dry side, you might want to apply a little water, because plants that are adequately watered can tolerate cold temperatures, freezing temperatures, better than plants that are dry. Tip 3, mulch your plants if you haven't already. Mulch accomplishes many things in the landscape, not the least of which is it preserves soil moisture, and it acts as an insulating barrier against cold temperatures to protect tender surface-rooted plants. Tip 4, cover your plants, but only those that might be flowering, are actively growing, or are tender tropical plants from southern Florida. The vast majority of landscape plants, again, if they are well-adapted plants for this area, don't need to be covered at all, even if they're newly planted. And the 5th thing, and perhaps the most important thing, is remember to uncover your plants when temperature's warm. When the sun comes up in the morning and the frost starts to dissipate, you want to make sure you uncover your plants so as not to heat them up too much during the day. If you leave the plants covered for too long, they may actually break dormancy and they may become even more susceptible to cold temperatures. So you have to be willing to go out and uncover them, as willing as you might have been to cover them. If you do have questions about protecting your plants during colder weather, you could always call us or email us here at the University of Florida Extension in Volusia County. Our email address is mastergardener@volusia.org, or you can call us here at the office at area code 386-822-5778. For Horticulture Today, I'm Joe Sewards.
Well, it's time now to head into the studio to join our very own Community Information Director, Dave Byron, with his guest, Votran's General Manager, Steve Sherrer.
Well, thanks, Amber, and hi, everyone. Votran, the county's public transit system, is struggling to meet service needs while holding down the subsidy from the county's general tax fund. Among the fiscal steps the County Council has approved is a fare increase for Votran riders, which is the second of a two-part fare increase. This one kicks in February 2nd. Today we'll try to put this into some perspective, and so we're very pleased to have with us in the studio Steve Sherrer. He's Votran's General Manager. Steve, thanks for being with us. How you doing?
I'm doing great. My pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely. We haven't talked about this for a few weeks. You were here, I think, before Christmas. Try to give everyone as much notice as we can about the fare increase. For those people that haven't heard about the fare increase, let's start with some general information about Votran itself. Give us a picture of Votran Public Transit, and then we'll talk about where you get your money and that sort of thing.
Okay. Well, Votran is the county-wide public transportation provider here in Volusia County. We operate fixed route bus service 7 days a week, and we operate a gold service for our disabled customers who can't get out to or get from one of our fixed route bus stops. And then we also offer a flex service down in the New Smyrna Beach area. But in general, we're the county-wide public transportation provider here in the county.
And Steve, tell us a little bit about your budget. I think it's around $21 million.
That's correct.
And how is that budget composed?
It's composed of a variety of different funding sources. One of the major funding sources is the county general fund.
Right.
That's about $8 million in this current budget year. But other sources of funds include Federal Transit Administration funding, state funding, fare revenue, advertising revenue, and those make up the majority of our funding sources.
Steve, you know, we've talked about this previously, but again, for the education of our viewers. So you take your funding sources, your revenue sources, you get federal funds, state funds, you get money from fare boxes and so forth, and all of those add up to a certain number, and then you compare that with the cost to run the service, and there's a difference there, an imbalance, and that imbalance is where that general tax subsidy comes in, as I understand it.
That's correct. When we add up all those funding sources, then that's when we come to the county and we make a request annually for the amount of funding that makes up that shortfall.
So a lot of people would say, okay, well, if you have to infuse the budget with general tax dollars, then why doesn't Votran make a profit? I mean, why don't you operate more efficiently and make a profit? From what I understand in the public transit business, public transit is not a profit-generating kind of enterprise.
No, it's not. And when you take all of the different subsidies that we receive in order to operate the service that we operate on a daily basis, you would have to charge an enormous fare in order to collect that much revenue. And you would also have to assume that you maintain the same level of riders whenever you increase the fares in that way. So no, you're right. Public transportation is not a money-making venture. It's a public service that allows people to get to work, to get to the doctor's office, to get to life's activities that they would otherwise not be able to do without a public transportation option.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because when you look at the rider, the general rider of Votran in Volusia County, the greatest majority of your riders are what you would call transportation dependent. I mean, these are the poor, the elderly, the young, that sort of thing. And so without a public transit system, these folks don't have any mobility.
That's right, and you're right. The majority of our folks are transit dependent. But just because you're transit dependent doesn't mean that you don't work, doesn't mean you don't go to school. So we're providing those people the ability to work and thus pay taxes, providing those people the ability to get the health care that they need, to shop, to spend the money that they make at work. So our service, it's not just a service that allows people to get around town. It allows people to be tax-paying citizens and allows people to spend their money here in the county.
Yeah, I think this point is worth focusing on for a second, because like in Washington, D.C. or New York City or Chicago or these large urban areas where people take public transit because of traffic congestion, because of a lack of parking and that sort of thing, here in Volusia County, public transit is somewhat, I think, described as a service or need, or a social service.
Right. We don't have, at least right now, we don't have the parking issues on a regular daily basis. We don't have consistent traffic issues that would likely prevent somebody from making a decision to park their car and take a bus. There are certain times of the year when or certain days when events might be going on, or people are looking for a different way to get to an event, that public transportation might be an option that they choose. But for the most part, no, we don't have those same type of issues that major metropolitan cities have, of the parking issues and the traffic and the different things that they deal with.
Take us back to the first fare increase, the first part, and then we'll talk about the second part. So what happened and when did that happen?
Back in February of 2014, so this past February, we raised fares for the first phase by 25 cents. And that was an across-the-board increase. So the regular adult fare went from $1.25 up to $1.50. The fare for the Gold service went from $2.50 up to $3. Mm-hmm. So the one-way trip was increased by 50 cents.
And the Gold service, again, for folks, is the call-up service, the door-to-door service.
It's a door-to-door service for people with disabilities who are unable to use the fixed route because of their disability. So that fare was increased, that one-way fare, to $3. Right. And the passes, the different passes increased corresponding to that. And the second phase of the increase that Council approved will take effect February the 2nd, 2015, and that will increase the adult fare by 25 cents as well. So it'll go from $1.50 up to $1.75. Now it's important to mention that the Gold fare will not increase on this second phase. So the Gold service will still be $3 for a one-way trip.
So when you look at $1.75, I guess that's a one-way full fare cost. When you look at $1.75, Steve, and you compare that with transit systems across the state of Florida, how does that fare stack up?
When we get to $1.75, it'll put us close to average in the state. If you take a couple steps back, whenever we were at $1.25, we were at the very low end of the range of fares within the state of Florida. Mm-hmm. $1.50 took us. We were still below average, and once we get to $1.75, it'll be middle of the road for transit agencies in the state.
And generally, Steve, what do you think the reaction will be among your riders?
I think that we'll get a mixed reaction. I mean, we're doing our best to make sure that people aren't surprised. Right. So that after February 2nd, people aren't surprised that there's a change in fare. So we're doing that through making sure that all the information is posted on buses, doing interviews like this to make sure that people have the opportunity to hear about the increase. There's a long list of things that we've done as far as public outreach. Right. And then with the first phase, we did a good number of public presentations where we talked about the increase in two phases. So we're doing our best to make sure that the information is out there for the public. People know that it's going to occur, and they have an opportunity to prepare. Some things that we've encouraged people to do, if you do purchase passes, the multi-use passes such as a monthly pass, 31-day pass, it's important if you have the money available to do it, you can purchase those passes at today's rate and avoid the fare increase in February. Right. So any passes that are purchased today can be used after the new increase occurs. So that's an opportunity for people to save a few dollars. You know, our main goal is making sure that people know that the increase is going to occur and it's not a surprise.
And Steve, let's talk just a little bit about ridership. You know, for the last several years, ridership on Votran has been going up pretty dramatically. I think you kind of stabilized or kind of equal the previous year, the last fiscal year, as a result of the fare increase. Typically you have a little bit of a fall off. Give us a picture on how your ridership is doing.
Well, in fiscal year 2014, it did level off. We were looking at an average of about 5% increase for the previous years. And when you talk about ridership and you talk about fare increases, you typically do experience a drop in ridership whenever you increase fares. I think that for us to level off was a good reaction to the fare increase, because it potentially could have taken you further below.
Yeah, that was the point I was thinking about, is the fact that typically, and we've seen this in previous fare increases, you know, there's been a ridership drop of 2 or 3%, and it takes you 2 or 3 years to get back to that level of ridership. And in this last fiscal year, which ended September 30th of 2014, your ridership was less than 1% difference than the previous year. So I would say that's a pretty significant, I don't want to call it accomplishment, but fact, I guess.
It is, and I mean, I think that further solidifies the fact that the people that are using our service are dependent upon it.
Right.
And that the service is a good service, and that it's dependable, and that people realize, you know, from time to time prices do increase.
Sure.
And it had been since 2007 the last time that we had a fare increase, and a lot of our expenses have increased significantly in 8 years.
And how much additional revenue, once that additional quarter comes into play, once it goes to 175, how much additional revenue do you think the new fare scheme will generate?
Well, from the February 2014 increase to now, or to the end of the fiscal year, it generated about $140,000 in additional revenue. We hope that the second increase will generate at least that much. It could potentially generate a little bit more than that, but we would hope that it would be about $150,000 in additional revenue.
Well, Steve, I want to thank you very much for sharing the information with us today. Important news for Votran riders. So thanks for being with us.
My pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity.
Our guest today, Steve Sherrer. He's the General Manager of Votran Public Transportation. And again, that new fare schedule goes into effect February 2nd. And with that, Amber, we'll go back to you.
Thanks, Dave. And thank you, too, for watching Volusia Magazine. Of course, if you have any questions about the show, you can always feel free to give us a call at any of the numbers you see listed here. Or you can log on to volusia.org and click on the News tab at the top of the screen to find us. Incidentally, you can find the County Council's meeting calendar there too. In fact, you can use volusia.org to find out about meeting dates, workshops, topics of interest, activities, and how you can become involved. And we hope you won't forget to listen to Volusia Today. That's Volusia County Government's weekly public radio broadcast. Volusia Today airs every Tuesday and Sunday mornings on the local radio stations you see on your screen. For Volusia Magazine, I'm Amber Patterson. Have a wonderful evening.